Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 13th of December, 2022. And I thought yesterday was a big news day, but today is a pretty big news day as well, internationally. And I don't know like what people's interests are in regards to like what I discuss, whether it be the spiritual stuff, whether it be the occult stuff, whether it be the like the international politics or the current events like around the world, or if people are more interested in the stuff that's more specific to North America, let me know. And because I still don't have a lot of followers, and so I would like to build that up. But anyway, I digress. Martial law was just called in Brazil, if anyone is paying attention to that, and so it's against protesters that were against the election fraud that's been going on. So I did mention that there is a leader, an elected leader that was put in leadership just recently in Brazil, and there's been a lot of protests and civil unrest because of that. And now what do they do? Instead of listening to the people that are protesting, like putting someone in a position of leadership that should not be in there, right? And that's causing a lot of oppression and dictatorship and tyranny within the country. And clearly, the leader proving that when you're going to impose martial law on people because of situations like that. And but like on January 6th, with the Capitol riots that were again staged and planned for several weeks, and many people knew about it, or that was a possibility of something that was going to be happening. There was people like Mark Meadows. There was like 34 messages or texts that were discussing that, like so many different things, but like how they wanted to impose martial law on the people that were part of like that staged and planned riot. That got bigger again because of people that were embedded, whether they be government or not, that were trying to elicit emotional responses in people in order to get them to make things worse than what they were. And there's just too much information and proof that I've shared and other people have shared for this to be refuted anymore. And luckily on Twitter, there's a lot more information coming out or being able to be disseminated, and algorithms changing, and people's reality tunnels are getting a little bit more like mixed up, right? And which is a good thing, right? Because it's good for everyone. There's people saying that there's like much less child porn on Twitter and stuff like that. I personally have never seen any of that there in any of my in any of my like Twitter experiences, and so it's I'm not sure why people have been or were seeing that in theirs. But I do know that like Facebook on their private groups, there's a lot of that going on, and then also even with like cruelty to like multiple aspects and levels of cruelty to humans and children. And children are humans, but I mean, like, I'm trying to separate adults from children here, just based on the severity. But then also animals as well. And because these are private groups, people are getting away with this, right? So like law enforcement claiming that they can't do anything about it, which is disgusting to me, because when you're getting proof of criminal activity and you're saying that you can't do anything about it because it's like a private group, even though people are getting murdered or tortured, or animals are, it's just it's really disgusting to me. And valuetainment, if you search on valuetainment and go on YouTube, I forget what the guy's name is, but he's a really good interviewer. He's very intelligent, and I would love to discuss a lot of this like globe versus flat Earth stuff with him and simulation theory. But like, I don't know if that's necessarily anything that he's interested in, but stuff that connects the dots a lot more with everything else that's been going on, and makes things a lot more clear. I could start with the moon landings being fake and staged, because even with Artemis coming back to Earth, dropping down in the water on the Pacific coast of Mexico. That's what they're saying. Again, didn't go to the moon, unless it went to the moon, wherever it's being wherever it is in this atmosphere, which I believe to be closer to the center of the world, and then reflected in the areas that we see them presently. And so the answer to protests is not to ignore them, like Justin Trudeau did, or vilify them, or try to incite riots and violence here by using members of your political party, which again was just proven as well with Brian, with the head of Enterprise, who's also a Liberal Party member and a sponsor and all that other stuff. And he's the one that had the flag that was like that guy with a balaclava and was hiding his face because he's a coward. And obviously, like, you can't really show your face when you're like when you're the ones that are saying like, oh, like the group that's coming here is like full of, like, it's like white supremacists and stuff like that, when the reality is the terrorists that were part of that freedom convoy were the people like him. He actually was one, and he should be charged, by the way, and possibly treason. I don't know, like, I'm going really extreme with things, but But and Marco Mendicino, all these people that should have known better, talking about tanks and things like that. And then this Mark Meadow guy is also talking about things like that. And then even like Margaret Taylor Moore, whatever her name is. I don't follow this stuff, but she's a Republican, so people are trying to be like really divisive with the riots and saying that it's just the Republicans that were condemning like the riot, or trying to call for like violence and martial law, and like and the army to come in, and people saying that they would have brought guns with them, like this Margaret whatever her name is, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, anyway, saying that she would bring guns. And then, but a lot of Democrats too, like look at like their texts, I'm sure, and emails and correspondence, and it would have been like a lot of the same stuff, right? Because left and right, same like same bird, or steering committee, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The Indian Army, they got into a bit of a conflict with China on the border again. So there's been a lot of tensions there in the Taiwan area, but in other areas as well. And people are not paying attention to this, but I would. And that's something that's been on my whiteboard for over a year now too, that by the end of the year, there would be more tensions and conflict within the Middle East regions. That's not the East, obviously. Well, I mean, it's Asia, but anyway, but it also relates to like what's going on in the Middle East. I think that it's gonna tip off things in the Middle East and Europe, and I don't know who's gonna get a hold of all the billions of dollars of infrastructure and weapons and vehicles and all that stuff that was left in Afghanistan a little over a year ago. Things that are trending: died suddenly. That's trending on Twitter, social media, not just because of the movie that was released by Stuart Peters, but also because people are dying suddenly. There's more people that are, and there's more talk about, oh my God, like the narrative right now is just like stressing me out a little bit. That's also why I'm a little bit more tense on my videos in general these days, but also with the stuff going on in the back, the needless noise that's excessive and also is very distracting. But where was I going with this? Died suddenly. Oh yeah, MERS and COVID. So people are talking about now how because of MERS and COVID and whatever else, like people are going to have like more severe like outcomes whenever this like new like virus, that mutates, like comes out, and they're predicting 30% of the population or more would be impacted, like it would be 30% lethality rate, so 70% survivability rate, however you want to look at it. And that it would be impacting like younger people is what they're saying, like so like children and younger adults and stuff like that, and or people with weakened immunities, which anything it's going to impact people with weakened immunity more. Like this is common sense, right? So anyone that had poor health or weak or decline in health because of the mandates or the being like inoculated and having adverse side effects and etc. Yeah. It's host dependent a lot more than even, well, therapeutic and ingredient dependent as well. But however you heal or recover from injury, whether it be like a scratch or an illness, it depends on your overall health. So if you've done like things to mitigate like health concerns or issues and make you would be like a more asymptomatic or less symptomatic if you did catch any virus that would make you more likely to spread it, then people like don't talk to me about people that are not vaccinated. Please spare me, because anyone that I know like that is unvaccinated still, they're fine. They're healthy. They haven't like even most people I know that like haven't even had COVID. And the people that I do know that have had COVID, even multiple times, have been people that are jabbed, and especially people that are boosted. And I've shared the science that's come out of the UK and Israel and multiple other countries as well, because they were doing the trials and putting this on the societies like much earlier than Canada, for a reason. And yeah, so like now they're trying to cover this up, so that they're like I was saying, like over a year ago, with the like when they wanted to like approve under emergency. By the way, this is still under emergency use authorization. It's in Canada with our tyrannical measures right now that are going on, and people like Omar Algebra or whatever his name is, and Kieran Moore and Theresa Tam and Patty Hajdu and Vera Etches and Marco Mendicino and all these people, Justin Trudeau, And then our mayors who are not giving the information that we're giving them, like Glenn Gower, he's the Stittsville mayor. He still hasn't given any of the information I've given him, and doesn't take like anything seriously that anyone gives him that I know personally. So I know multiple people that have emailed him, and I've asked them, have they got anything back, and they say like no, he just like either like threatens them or says like don't email him anymore. Like so he's rude if he does get back to people. It's never been anything where I value your message and I'm gonna take like further consideration into this. No. So like how did he get elected again? Like he needs to be fired. Jim Watson, for a very long time, he was the mayor of Ottawa, and he just finally relinquished. Somehow he wasn't fired, but he just relinquished his position. And this is another guy that needs jail. So like how like there's like Nuremberg 2.0 that's also trending. Like we should be having that in Canada as well, for a lot of the health experts that were talking about the science, and they weren't even showing the science that they were talking about. Oh, the mask science, show me it. Oh, the therapeutic science, show me it, because I'm sharing science with you that completely like refutes what you're saying. Not even like, because you're not showing me anything, so it's just what you're saying. So you're saying a lot of things, and I'm sharing with you like a lot of proof. And yeah, it's just been frustrating because again, I need to be hired in an official capacity again in the federal government in order to impact change and like and address like the stuff that has not only happened, but like the stuff that's going to be happening, you know, in the near future and then beyond, right? Because I'm a chronologist. Like all this stuff to me, it's very evident and apparent that we're repeating cycles because people are still getting away with the same stuff. And it would be nice if people started paying attention to this stuff, right? And not getting the expertise from outside of Canada, right? Like we need to get people that are within the area that know what's going on, that have been through the gamut and see things for what they are, that are giving recommendations and input and advice and proof on how to get past all the stuff that's going on. And things like lockdowns are not the answer. Things like forced inoculations, not the answer. Trust me on this, and so much more. But like these are things that that again I would like to talk to like the high levels of government again and get this stuff addressed. But like and I'm losing people that I know, and this is the upsetting stuff. Like people that could be in Ottawa helping me with this, like trying to reach out to like multiple levels of government or media or public health here, because this is the capital region and this is where most of the government operates out of, and where like where most changes would be impacted. So, like people need to come, right? Or that people that are here in the area, instead of profiting and benefiting and exploiting the pandemic, what like a lot of people I know personally have been doing, just like get on board now and just like just try to undo the damage. And yeah, and shredding millions of trees a year is not the answer. It's not the answer. That's like the opposite of the answer, and that's why like I also come across as very like insistent in these videos. Is not only am I chronically triggered because of service related like stuff as well, and the fact that they've also like intentionally been like targeting me, but it's hard to watch. Like I keep saying that like a lot of the resources that could be used to do the building, they're not using. They're causing a lot of waste into like the Calabogie areas and further east and west of our capital region, and this has been done before in the past, and history covered or censored, especially in Canada, and so people aren't getting the same information that I'm getting, or they're just not willing to look at it or bother with it, right? Because even people in my own network, people that I've even gone to war with, they have been refusing to look at any of the data that I've been sending for the last 3 years, and they're still getting paid. They're still, you know, like seen as a hero, you know, like internationally and in Canada with their family and friends and stuff like that. But they're actually doing a lot of harm. Like even like the blissful ignorance or the willful ignorance is doing a lot of harm. And we only need to look at the entirety of Europe from the 1920s, well, even before that, but like this is just like a more recent example, from the 1920s to the 1940s, to see and realize like what we're doing, and then know who would be the Nazi types within Canada. And unfortunately, we proved that it would be the majority of the population would do exactly what the awful people were doing in the other countries, and yeah, and just allowing it to happen. And then so many people are just like, oh, this is what I would do if this happened to me, but when this happened to my family, I would do that. And I'm like, yeah, sure you would. Like you've shown consistently that you're all talk. Sorry, I'm just. Oh, today in the news, there's been a lot of 23s. So there was a man that was 23 that was hanged in Iran for protests. and he like allegedly killed two members of government, or some kind of like a very tyrannical government. But any of the footage that I've seen, like, it doesn't show any of that. But again, it's very censored, and so there's no proof that was shown for any murders. And he was hanged very recently, either yesterday or today. Because again, they're like several hours ahead of us. And then in Hamilton, Ontario, though, there was also talk about a 23-year-old man that was fatally shot. And so I haven't looked into 23 yet more today, but during some periods of time, certain numbers, like, there's repeat patterns all over the world, and it's very similar, like a male 23, for whatever reason, whatever stuff happens. I'm all over the place. If anyone noticed, Jupiter, the sign, looks like an upside down pi symbol. And then if you look at Jupiter, it's Jupi, Pater. Anyway, so I was looking into a lot of the more scientific representations of the occult symbols, and when you look at the serpents and the caduceus, and being intertwined, like it's like just more discussions on how, like, it follows like the sine cosine wave that also like shows like the same pattern or calendar chart, whatever you want to call it, of the eclipses and equinoxes, and there's more I could talk about, but we are light beings that are heavily impacted by, well, I mean, all the planets, or I call them luminaries, and the sun and the moon, because we are very much electrical magnetic light beings. I was going to talk about 22 as well, because of the like the sine, cosine, and caduceus and stuff like that. There's also like the aleph and the tau within the what they call like the intertwined serpents, or the caduceus, or the sine cosine waves connected. There's like 22 shadows that are formed, and then with 22 it's aleph and tau. Aleph being like the start, tau being the end, and then with tau you've got Taurus and toroidal fields, and Taoism, and Torah and Rhoda, and etc. And Aleph, like, also in its own, but with T, the start of T, like that's tau. I mean, is a cross, and it symbolizes completion in the end, and all this other stuff. But also there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and in other alphabets. And with 22 as well, like that is like the symbolic of like a turnover or a handover of the constellations from one sign into another. So it, like, from the 21st to the 22nd is that handover period, and so the 22 as well, that being also sacred, and a national holiday in multiple other countries, China also being one of them, and the day after the winter solstice, and etc. Solstice, sol, sun, stis, and equinox, equal stis, and so it also has to do with the duration of night and day during certain periods, during certain seasons as well. I was looking into a lot of names, so I'm going all over the place, but like you've got like horizon, there's like rise in the name, and then you've got sunset, and which is like set, like as in the sun setting. And those are apparently like symbolic of Venus and Saturn, and Adam is symbolic of Mars, red, blood, water. Adonai also means dawn, which is why I'm interested in this stuff as well, and marine, maritime is also like associated with Mars, as well as Adam, and Adama in Dutch is breathe, and then there's more even with that too. It's like Adam being like life, and breath, and blood, and water, essentially life. In so many different cultures, it's symbolic of that. And then Pluto being like more like the subconscious, or higher levels of consciousness, but other planets impacting us on this Earth plane. That is a flat plane with a firmament above and below, and waters above and below, with the constellations forming a perfect pattern, with Sirius, the North Star, or the center star in the middle, never moving, and all of them working in perfect symmetry around. And if you have a time-lapse camera, you can do this for yourself. I highly recommend it. And there's a lot of like videos out there that are being shared online, where people are doing like the science and research themselves, and then putting it out there, and showing like the devices they're using, the measurements, the calculations, everything. It's completely transparent. And yeah, so it'd be really interesting that if we can get beyond all of this stuff that we're so easily distracted by, because you're talking about climate stuff again. And by the way, climate hoax is also something that's trending now, and there's more information coming out too. There's a lot of the same narrative that's been going on now for decades, at least, that we have in recorded history, stuff that hasn't been wiped away or erased or burned or covered up or you name it. And so people need to look at that and see how there are like a few like very large companies that are responsible for like pollution, like the majority of the pollution in the world. And they're trying to shame us and into purchasing things and being perpetually like living in fear, in survival mode, so that we're not accessing our higher levels of consciousness and awareness to realize how duped we're being and how misled we're being. And again, like the people at the top, they've said this themselves even over 100 years ago, that they wanted like a generation of they wanted workers, not thinkers. And so that the more truth people have and knowledge, the better off we are. So like I keep on trying to share information with people, even though I'm getting a lot of backlash back, or threats or harassments, or people just completely ignoring me. And I've been alone now at this now for 3 years during a pandemic, being locked down in my own province, even as I've been trying to like address and speak out on a lot of the stuff that's been going on, that has been impacting and killing, again, like people that I know personally and or care about. And it's been hard to watch, and I've gone even weeks without having even like conversations with people, because even though I try on a regular basis, no one wants to hear it. And it's just it's unfortunate, because what they're doing is they're taking away the chance for so many people, even their own friends and family, of having a better life. And we're just being led into even like worse stuff happening. We might get a little bit of a relief every once in a while, like maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but when they realize that the profit margins are going down, there's more stuff that's coming out, right? And the tabletops that have just happened with Bill and Melinda Gates, these people that have gone in multiple different countries and ruined it from the inside out and caused a lot of harm and damage to millions of people. We need to start addressing this stuff. Elon was talking about more information or proof that he has to jail Fauci. I have information that could jail Fauci. I have information that could jail a lot of people. I'm giving this information to people like Glenn Gower and Jim Watson and Vera Etches and Marco Mendicino, and people that I've known that are heads of really important high-level government organizations, or that can work with them or know people. And because what I'm saying goes against what they believed, that like in the beginning, they don't want to go back on it. They don't they still refuse to be flexible and adapt. And as an officer, like that was like the biggest thing is adapt and overcome. Be flexible and adaptable. Those are leadership principles, and ones that like everyone I know personally, and then people that I don't know personally, but I know that they should know this stuff because of the positions that they hold within government at all levels. It's alarming to watch. And I don't know if anyone has any recommendations on how to get the information out there, because again, like I've worked with Global Affairs Canada, and maybe because like I'm talking about flat Earth stuff, but that this is stuff that they should still know, and they need to know, because if they're responding in other countries, with natural, that are dealing with natural and man-made disasters, they should also know and or address the natural and man-made disasters that are happening here in our own country as well, and so many other levels of government like CSIS and CSEC and CBSA, and like our leaders need to know this stuff again, just like Ptolemy and Hypatia we're teaching, and so many other great like scientific minds even before and after them, and put down so much information. And again, people need to get into the astronomy as well. It is a science. It's one of the oldest. It like all science is derived from astronomy and mathematics, and so people really need to get beyond this thinking that it's just hippie pseudo spiritual Karens, you know what I mean, that are into astrology or astronomy. No, they're it's not. It's like astronomy and science. They're not mutually exclusive, and neither is religion, by the way, because a lot of science is based on theories, and theories that can be are always able to be changed once given or provided new information. And so there's been a lot of changes that have happened in the last 2 years, and so the people that got jabbed, they don't want to talk to me because they I don't know if there's bitterness or resentment or animosity, but that's not a reason not to like reestablish like the same like work connections, you know, that we had like pre-pandemic, right? And I was the one that was saying that like the lab leak came from Wuhan and stuff like that. And again, like even from the very beginning, people saying that it was crazy, that that's not the case, and all of this stuff. And so still not wanting to get beyond that, like and realize that we had like 15 plus years of a relationship or more, that shouldn't be like completely dismissed just because of what went on with this, right? And this is where I really hope that ego gets out of the way, and then people start like actually calling like members of government and their mayors and public health officials, and having that voice, like even if your voice is shaking when you're speaking, or with emails, and I know they're not pleasant, but like you can copy and paste emails too, like once you have like a good foundation or baseline like set, and I can give you so much material as well, and get this information, get these emails out to people that are making the decisions for us, because or figure out who are making the decisions for us, because like I even showed you from over the weekend, the COP15 climate conference in Montreal, 2.5 hours away from me, that I could have attended easily. It was attended by mostly people that are not from Canada, and that are from countries where they are not the experts at all on climate, clearly, or academics, or anyone that's pushing like again, even this calendar system is just, oh my god. I was like even talking about crepuscular rays again this morning with people that were trying to say that when you zoom into the sun, it appears bigger, and this somehow disproves flat earth. I'm just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, if you want to like talk about the sun's rays and how like like 93 million miles away, like the rays don't fall, they don't land like that on water, like in various and as it goes up, you see like such a difference in the rays even on water, like how they expand and contract, like, again, based on the concentration of the light, that it would have to be closer. Like if you look at lighthouses, like this is like a classic example, right, of yeah, it would have to be higher. Like there's like it's hard to explain. No, I guess it's not. You got the Earth, and then I'll put the sun here because I just messed it up. Anyway, that's like the sun, which is obviously like a lot bigger than the Earth, but the rays, like this is like supposed to be like 93 million light years away, so like it's a bad drawing, but like the rays would go like that first of all, and then they're trying to talk about like optical illusions and light refraction, all this stuff that's been debunked, that's been like, and this is why like even with Chicago, like when you see like 73 miles or 60 miles like from like whatever island it is that's across from it, when you zoom in and you see it, that proves that this is a flat plane. Like that's just but anyway, and how the sun, yin and yang, like sorry. So the sun and the moon, where I think to be, and Ptolemy and a lot of other people with rings around, where these objects are being like they're orbiting the Earth, like within the atmosphere, but closer, obviously, and that's where like the light rays, with how they're cast down. There's just been like repeatedly so many different studies and research experiments that have been done that show that like at varying distances, like you just can't have, like it's impossible where like 93 million miles away that the sun would be reflecting like exactly as it does, to make the seasons and the clock and stuff like that too. And by the way, it's a 24-hour clock. I want to reiterate that as well. But I was gonna go on, and yeah, Ptolemy and Hypatia and so many other people as well, like Alex Gleason and Eric Dubé, and so many different ancient civilizations, more advanced civilizations that show the same thing in a stationary plane, and I can feel again that I'm not moving, and I'm not impacted by gravity, but rather like when a mass or an object it like moves through space time, if it's less dense than the space time that it's occupying, then it's if it's less dense, then it will rise up, and if it's more dense, it will go down. until it meets, you know, some kind of a like a space-time object, whatever you want to call it, that is more dense. So for me, would be the floor. Anyway, there's like so much to this, and even with Coriolis effect, where like if the Earth was spinning, you know, at like 1,000 miles per hour, like then there would be like that it would impact like a cannonball, like, or anything being shot out from the Earth into the air. But what happens with like the large majority of cannonballs, they almost all go almost exactly back inside the cannon, or like hits and then goes down. So like that, like so that again, and even with pendulums, like they wouldn't stop if we were spinning. And with bees and birds, like hummingbirds and stuff like that, like they move based on vibration, like within their chest cavities, and yeah, and there's just like a lot more science within nature as well that we ignore or just don't see because we're just not looking, or we're paying attention, or we're in large vehicles and not even going out on the sites that we're destroying and seeing like the old history that's there, or even with the trees, with being able to date places based on trees as well. And I can go on these tangents, but I think that on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.